Hi, a series of shorts here on career. And this one is from early on. I was actually going to Cal Poly Pomona at the time, and I worked in the evenings and weekends in an auto parts store. I worked in the back stocking, so shipments would come in, often with heavy, auto parts and stuff, and I'd go and bring it in and put it on the shelves or put it wherever it needed to go. Everything from brake pads to discs to pistons, any part of a car. I knew a fair amount about cars already, and I learned a lot more while I was there. Plus, I worked on my own cars. Whatever a car I had, it was never going to be a new car, so it was always something I was working on. I think my favorite memory of working on cars was taking apart a 4-barrel carburetor completely and rebuilding it when I had a date that night. And it took me longer than I would have liked, but I was able to go on the date. But I had to finish the carburetor because otherwise I didn't have any way to get there. But while I was there, they had a couple of guys that would work on the counter, and you get to know them and everything because you're doing the stocking. I did a lot of stuff. I was always up for doing anything. So I'd sweep the floors. Like I said, I'd stock stuff. When somebody brought in, so cores are when somebody buys something like a battery or a new brake disc and they give you the old one, which then you send off and it gets machined and then it comes back to the store, not necessarily that one, but it comes back to the store as a rebuilt part. So when you look on something that says it's been rebuilt, that means somebody returned it as a core and then it got cleaned up, rebuilt, brought up to spec, and then sent back up. So in the evening, sometimes it was slow and I'd finished putting all the stuff away, everything was swept, and the guys that were up front would go back to take a break. Back in those days, they'd smoke in the back, because that was allowed. They'd come back to have a smoke or something, and sometimes they were drinking whiskey. But they'd be back there and they'd chat with me a little bit. And after a while, they said, you kind of got to knowing the parts really well. You know the numbering systems, you know how to look things up. If somebody comes in and says, I have this problem on the car, you can suggest things because you know how cars go together and what the signs are that something is bad. You're good at diagnosing. So we kind of think, we talked at the front, and we think that you should probably come up maybe and start training for the front. You could just do it in the evenings when there's no pressure. We'll be here, we'll help you, and we should do it. So the managers there, the whole store manager was Ron. So I said, talk to Ron and he can just, if you have a little bit of time, you can train. One of the next times that Ron was actually in his office. So I said, hey, Ron, the guys up front said that, they think that I could train to work the counter, and I just, I'm interested. So is that something that we could do? I'll give priority to putting the stock away and sweeping and everything else. But if there's time, I'd be happy to do it. He said, we have a strict policy that we don't have anybody up on the counter until they're 21. Since I'm telling you no, it means you'll be unhappy and your attitude will be bad and you won't want to work, as hard. So you're fired, because I just don't want to have to deal with that. I just, that's it. So get your stuff together and get out. So it was an interesting lesson. I'm not sure what I learned from that, except not to do that to somebody. But I thought that was interesting, and I've wondered why he was the way he was. Obviously, he must have had some bad experience with people. I don't really think that my attitude would have been bad because it was a bonus. I mean, it would be fun for me, but I enjoyed doing the rest of the work too. So, I'm okay with limits like that. If somebody says, oh, I mean, at the time, I was used to a lot of things I couldn't do when I was young because I wasn't, I couldn't drink yet at that age. What lesson do you take out of this? Because I'm not sure what else. Having that experience did maybe make me a little more durable. It made me a little more resilient because, I had to just come away from that. I couldn't let it bother me too much. It was just kind of strange. I don't know. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I think it's an interesting story. And I don't think it marked me for life, but it did definitely commit me to taking good care of people. And I do love training people. I'll never turn down training with anybody, I don't think, unless I have a budget issue. And then I would just tell them that. But I wouldn't fire them. Anyway, thanks for listening. And do leave some comments on this one because I think it's pretty interesting. Maybe you've had a similar experience. Thank you.